Sometimes the hardest thing isn't walking away, it's letting go. Holding on to someone who no longer values you only keeps you trapped in the past. True freedom starts the moment you release him. Reclaim your peace and step fully into the life you deserve. Asterisk, one of the most important truths about emotional freedom is that holding on to someone who no longer serves your life or growth keeps you stuck in a cycle that benefits no one. When a connection ends or someone fails to appreciate you, the instinct is often to cling, replay memories, and hope that things will somehow return to the way they were. We convince ourselves that if we try harder, give more, or wait longer, we can regain what we lost. But the reality is that clinging to someone who has already demonstrated they cannot meet your needs only traps you in a state of stagnation, emotionally and mentally. Every moment spent holding on is energy diverted away from your growth, your goals, and your happiness. You are waiting for a chapter that is already closed, and in doing so, you are missing the opportunity to start a new, more fulfilling one. Being stuck in this way doesn't just affect your emotions, it impacts every area of your life. When you are mentally tethered to someone, your focus is compromised. You are less present in your daily life, distracted by thoughts of what could have been, and often sabotaging your own opportunities for joy and fulfillment. You may hesitate to invest in new relationships, new experiences, or even personal growth because a part of you is still emotionally attached to someone who has already chosen a different path. Holding on creates a kind of emotional limbo where you are neither fully present nor fully free. And this limbo can feel suffocating over time. It prevents clarity, reduces your energy, and keeps you from stepping into the person you are meant to become. The key to moving forward is understanding that freedom begins the moment you consciously release attachment. Letting go is not about forgetting, pretending it didn't matter, or diminishing your feelings. It is about accepting reality for what it is and redirecting your focus toward what serves you. When you stop holding on, you reclaim the energy and space that was previously consumed by waiting, hoping, and replaying. That energy can now be channeled into personal growth, self-care, and experiences that align with your values and goals. Releasing attachment allows you to move forward without resentment, bitterness, or regret, and it creates the conditions for a life that is more fulfilling, intentional, and aligned with your worth. Another reason holding on keeps you stuck is that it often fosters a false sense of control. We believe that by clinging, we can somehow influence the outcome, make someone notice us, or prompt them to return. This illusion of control keeps us tied to a situation we cannot change, because the only thing we truly have power over is our own choices, actions, and mindset. Accepting this truth and redirecting your energy toward what you can influence, your life, your goals, and your emotional well-being shifts you from a position of dependency to a place of power. Freedom comes not from changing someone else, but from taking responsibility for your own life and refusing to let the past dictate your future. Holding on also prevents clarity. When you are emotionally invested in someone who is no longer aligned with you, your judgment becomes clouded. You may excuse behaviors that were unacceptable, overlook signs that you deserve better, or stay in patterns that limit your growth. Letting go clears the mental and emotional fog, allowing you to see relationships, opportunities, and experiences more clearly. It gives you perspective and empowers you to make decisions based on what truly serves you, rather than what temporarily soothes your longing or fear of loss. Ultimately, releasing attachment is the first step toward reclaiming your life. Holding on keeps you stuck because it binds your energy to someone else's choices, leaving you dependent, distracted, and drained. Freedom starts when you consciously decide to let go, focus on yourself, and invest your energy into your growth, your happiness, and the life you deserve. By releasing what no longer serves you, you open the door to new opportunities, relationships, and experiences that honor your worth and allow you to thrive. One of the most misunderstood aspects of moving on from someone who no longer serves your life is the idea that letting go is a sign of weakness. On the contrary, letting go is one of the bravest, most empowering acts you can take in a relationship or after a connection has ended. It takes courage to face reality, to acknowledge that someone cannot meet your needs, and to release your attachment to them, especially when emotions and memories are involved. Many people stay in situations that drain them because walking away feels impossible. But real strength is not measured by endurance. It's measured by the ability to honor yourself and your boundaries above all else. Letting go begins with self-awareness and honesty. You must be willing to face the truth that holding on is no longer serving your growth, happiness, or peace. It requires evaluating the connection with clarity and recognizing patterns that are harmful or stagnant. This is not about assigning blame or becoming bitter. It's about seeing reality and choosing a path that prioritizes your emotional well-being. Strength is reflected in this honesty. It's easier to stay stuck in the hope that someone will change, but the strongest people are those who recognize when a chapter has ended and have the courage to close it intentionally, even when it hurts. Another aspect of strength in letting go is the ability to manage your emotions without losing control. Releasing someone does not mean pretending the feelings don't exist or minimizing the impact of the connection. True strength lies in allowing yourself to feel, process, and heal without letting those emotions dictate your decisions or compromise your boundaries. It is about responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively, maintaining composure even when part of you longs to reach out, and choosing actions that honor your dignity and self-worth. This emotional discipline is a hallmark of strength, showing that you value yourself more than the temporary comfort of clinging to someone who is no longer aligned with your life. Letting go also demonstrates resilience. It shows that you are capable of moving forward despite disappointment, heartbreak, or unmet expectations. Resilience is built not by avoiding pain, but by navigating it with grace and clarity. When you release someone, you reclaim your power and assert that your happiness is not dependent on another person's recognition, attention, or presence. This form of strength is magnetic because it signals that you are self-sufficient, emotionally mature, and fully capable of thriving independently. People notice strength because it carries with it confidence, calmness, and a sense of certainty that cannot be forced or faked. Another key dimension of strength in letting go is creating space for growth and opportunity. By releasing attachment, you allow yourself the freedom to explore your own life, passions, and goals without being tethered to someone who cannot align with your journey. This act of self-prioritization reflects strength because it demonstrates that you are committed to building a life that is fulfilling and aligned with your values. Letting go is not just about leaving someone behind. It's about stepping boldly into a future that honors your worth and potential. Ultimately, letting go is a courageous declaration of self-respect and empowerment. It is the conscious choice to prioritize your peace, happiness, and growth over lingering in a situation that limits you. Strength is not measured by how long you endure someone's absence of care or appreciation, but by how decisively you release what no longer serves you and redirect your energy toward your life. Every step you take to let go, even when it feels uncomfortable or painful, is a testament to your resilience, clarity, and self-worth. By choosing to release him, you demonstrate that your happiness and freedom are non-negotiable and that you have the courage to step fully into a life that is aligned with your highest self. One of the most liberating truths about letting go is understanding that your life doesn't pause for anyone, no matter how much you wished it would. Often, when someone leaves or fails to appreciate us, we fall into the trap of waiting for them to change, waiting for recognition, waiting for closure. We linger in the hope that if we just hold on a little longer, things might go back to the way they were. But the reality is that life continues whether we are stuck in the past or not. Every day that you cling to someone who is no longer aligned with your story is a day of your life spent waiting for a chapter that has already closed. True freedom and fulfillment begin when you stop pausing your own life and start actively engaging with the present and future that belong to you. Recognizing that your life doesn't pause for anyone requires a shift in mindset. You must internalize the idea that your happiness, growth, and opportunities are not dependent on someone who failed to show up. When you hold on, you are essentially placing your energy, attention, and emotional well-being in someone else's hands, which limits your ability to move forward. By releasing attachment, you reclaim control over your time and focus, choosing to invest them in experiences, goals, and relationships that are aligned with your worth. This shift is both empowering and transformative because it places the narrative of your life squarely in your own hands rather than someone else's inaction or indecision. Focusing on your own life also allows you to reconnect with your passions and ambitions. Often, when people are preoccupied with holding on, they neglect their personal growth, delay pursuing their goals, or settle for less than they deserve. Releasing someone opens the door to redirect your energy into what truly matters to you: your career, friendships, self-care, and personal development. This is not just about distraction. It's about creating a life so full, vibrant, and aligned with your values that you no longer have space or need for what no longer serves you. By prioritizing your life, you shift from passivity to proactive living, and this shift naturally attracts respect, admiration, and even curiosity from others. Another important aspect of understanding that your life doesn't pause is that it fosters emotional clarity. When you are caught in the cycle of holding on, your judgment is often clouded by longing, hope, or resentment. You may excuse behaviors, overlook red flags, or remain entangled in patterns that don't honor your worth. By choosing to focus on your life, you gain perspective. You see the situation for what it truly was, and you make decisions based on what serves your growth rather than what temporarily comforts your attachment or nostalgia. This clarity empowers you to set boundaries, recognize healthy connections, and engage in experiences that genuinely enrich your life. Finally, embracing the reality that your life doesn't pause is a declaration of self-respect and independence. It communicates that your worth is not defined by someone else's attention, affection, or presence. By living fully, pursuing your passions, and prioritizing your own growth, you demonstrate resilience, confidence, and autonomy. Letting go is not just about releasing him, it's about stepping into a life that is active, vibrant, and fully your own. It ensures that your story continues with purpose, excitement, and alignment with your highest self, and it allows you to move forward without regret or hesitation. Life doesn't wait, and neither should you. One of the most important reasons to release someone who no longer serves your life is that detachment protects your peace. When we hold on to someone emotionally, we are essentially surrendering control over our mental and emotional state. We become entangled in their choices, moods, and actions, and allow them to dictate how we feel. This creates a constant undercurrent of anxiety, frustration, and insecurity. Detachment is the conscious choice to reclaim your power by refusing to let someone else control your emotions. It is not about indifference or coldness. It is about creating boundaries that safeguard your mental, emotional, and even physical well-being, allowing you to thrive without being tied to someone who cannot meet you halfway. Detachment requires clarity and honesty. You must recognize that your peace is valuable and that it cannot coexist with emotional dependence on someone who does not prioritize or respect you. Holding on may feel like loyalty or persistence, but in reality, it is a form of self-sabotage. It keeps you mentally replaying scenarios, second-guessing decisions, and hoping for responses that may never come. By detaching, you step back from this cycle and create a safe space within yourself where your emotions are your own. You no longer give anyone else the power to disrupt your equilibrium, which is essential for personal growth, self-confidence, and overall well-being. Another critical aspect of detachment is emotional regulation. When you are attached, every action, word, or perceived slight can trigger strong emotional reactions that cloud your judgment. Detachment allows you to respond rather than react. It gives you the mental and emotional bandwidth to assess situations with clarity, make conscious decisions, and prioritize actions that serve you. This does not mean suppressing emotions. It means acknowledging them, processing them internally, and choosing to act from a place of strength and self-respect rather than fear, anger, or longing. Protecting your peace requires discipline and the courage to consistently choose your well-being over emotional attachment. Detachment also creates the space necessary for healing and growth. When we hold on, we often stay tied to a past that no longer exists, which prevents us from fully engaging with the present or preparing for the future. Letting go allows you to focus on yourself, your goals, your passions, your friendships, and your personal development. This space is fertile ground for self-discovery, clarity, and alignment with the life you deserve. By protecting your peace through detachment, you make room for experiences, relationships, and opportunities that are in harmony with your worth, rather than perpetually investing in someone who cannot meet you on equal footing. Moreover, detachment is empowering because it shifts the source of your validation from external to internal. When your emotional state is no longer dependent on someone else, you reclaim ownership of your confidence, happiness, and sense of self. You begin to understand that your worth is not defined by who chooses to stay or leave, it is inherent. This realization is transformative. It frees you from the roller coaster of seeking approval, chasing attention, or waiting for acknowledgement, and it allows you to engage with the world from a place of strength, clarity, and self-respect. Ultimately, detachment protects your peace because it allows you to reclaim your emotional autonomy. Holding on may feel like loyalty or love, but it often comes at the cost of your clarity, energy, and well-being. By releasing attachment, you create a life where your emotions are yours to manage, your decisions are aligned with your highest good, and your energy is directed toward growth and fulfillment. Protecting your peace through detachment is not a passive act. It is a powerful, intentional, and transformative step toward freedom, self-respect, and a life fully in your control. One of the most essential truths about moving on and reclaiming your freedom is understanding that growth requires space. When you hold on to someone who no longer belongs in your life, you are essentially filling the space in your heart, mind, and energy with someone who limits your potential. You cannot fully evolve, explore, or embrace your own journey while clinging to a connection that is stagnant, unreciprocated, or misaligned with your path. Personal growth demands the freedom to make choices independently, to pursue your passions, and to engage with life on your own terms without being tethered to someone else's limitations or unresolved issues. Space is not just physical, it's emotional and mental as well. When you are emotionally entangled with someone, your thoughts, energy, and decisions are often consumed by them, consciously or unconsciously. You may find yourself replaying memories, analyzing their actions, or waiting for some form of acknowledgement or closure. This constant preoccupation prevents you from fully focusing on yourself, your ambitions, and the opportunities that are available to you. By creating space, detaching emotionally, mentally, and even socially, you give yourself room to breathe, reflect, and prioritize what truly matters to you. Growth cannot happen in a crowded, distracted, or stagnant space. It requires clarity, freedom, and intentionality. Another key aspect of growth is self-discovery. When you release someone, you allow yourself the chance to reconnect with who you are independently of them. You explore your desires, your strengths, and your boundaries without the influence of someone who may have skewed your sense of self. This space creates an opportunity to identify patterns, heal past wounds, and understand what you truly want from life and relationships. Growth is not just about external achievements, it's about internal evolution, and that internal work requires breathing room away from attachments that no longer serve you. Growth also thrives in an environment free from emotional dependency. When you hold on to someone, even subtly, it fosters a sense of attachment that can influence your decisions and limit your potential. By stepping back and releasing that hold, you create a mental and emotional environment where your actions are guided by your goals and values, not by hope, fear, or longing for someone who cannot reciprocate. This independence is crucial because it empowers you to make decisions that truly reflect your priorities, and it reinforces your confidence and self-worth in a tangible, actionable way. Creating space also allows you to welcome new experiences, relationships, and opportunities. When your heart and mind are no longer occupied by someone from the past, you can engage fully with the present. You notice possibilities you might have missed, take risks you might have avoided, and attract people and experiences that align with your growth and aspirations. This is why letting go is not just about release, it's about preparation for a richer, fuller life. The space you create is fertile ground for transformation, self-discovery, and the life you have been waiting to build. Ultimately, growth requires space because it allows you to reclaim your energy, your focus, and your autonomy. Holding on fills that space with someone who cannot meet you where you are and prevents you from fully realizing your potential. By releasing him, you create a life that is open, intentional, and aligned with your goals and values. Freedom, growth, and self-discovery flourish when you honor your need for space and prioritize your journey above clinging to someone who belongs to your past. It is in that space that you find clarity, confidence, and the room to thrive in every aspect of your life. One of the most powerful truths about letting go is that freedom itself is magnetic. When you release someone who no longer serves your growth, your energy transforms. You are no longer tethered to their actions, their approval, or their presence. Instead, you radiate a sense of independence and self-possession that draws attention effortlessly. People are naturally drawn to those who appear whole, confident, and unconstrained because it communicates that they are in control of their life and their happiness. Freedom is magnetic not because it demands recognition, but because it signals self-respect, emotional maturity, and the ability to thrive independently of external validation. Freedom becomes visible in the way you carry yourself. When you are no longer preoccupied with someone who failed to value you, your posture, energy, and presence change. You move through the world with clarity, purpose, and self-assurance, and that energy is noticeable. You no longer react impulsively to the actions of someone from your past or allow their absence to dictate your mood. Instead, you respond from a place of power and intentionality. This composure is magnetic because it reflects someone who is emotionally anchored and secure, someone who cannot be shaken by what is outside their control. People, including those who once underestimated you, cannot help but notice that energy. Another reason freedom is magnetic is that it demonstrates self-sufficiency. There is something inherently captivating about someone who is not dependent on external validation for their confidence or happiness. When you have released attachment, you show the world that your life is fulfilling on your own terms. You engage fully with your passions, relationships, and goals without needing permission, acknowledgement, or approval. This independence signals strength, resilience, and authenticity, all qualities that naturally attract attention and respect. The more you embody this freedom, the more magnetic your presence becomes. Freedom also allows for spontaneity and joy, which are inherently attractive traits. When you are no longer constrained by the weight of past attachments, you can experience life more fully, embrace new opportunities, and engage in relationships without fear or hesitation. That vibrancy, curiosity, and enthusiasm cannot be manufactured. It comes from living authentically and prioritizing your own growth and happiness. Others notice it immediately because it contrasts sharply with the energy of someone who is emotionally tethered or dependent. Magnetic energy comes from living in alignment with your values and pursuing the life you want unapologetically. Importantly, freedom is magnetic because it communicates boundaries without confrontation. When you release someone and live without clinging, you show that your time, energy, and attention are precious. You do not tolerate behaviors that undermine your worth, and you invest in experiences that honor your growth. This is compelling because it demonstrates that you are not available for what does not serve you, and it sends a clear signal that your energy is valuable. People who once underestimated or took you for granted begin to notice not through words, but through the undeniable shift in your presence and priorities. Ultimately, freedom is magnetic because it embodies self-respect, authenticity, and empowerment. By letting go of someone who no longer belongs in your life, you reclaim your energy, your focus, and your peace. You create a life that is vibrant, intentional, and aligned with your highest self, and that energy naturally draws attention. Acting as if he never held power over you, living fully and prioritizing your growth makes you magnetic, not through manipulation or performance, but simply through the power of living freely. Freedom communicates strength, independence, and emotional mastery, and in doing so, it signals to the world, and to anyone who once underestimated you, that you are whole, thriving, and unstoppable. Freedom isn't just about walking away, it's about reclaiming your energy, your peace, and your life. The moment you release him, you step into a version of yourself that is whole, confident, and unstoppable. Letting go isn't giving up, it's winning your life back.